It's crazy to say it, but the 2024 NHL Draft is now behind us, and now we look towards 2025. And this class has some pretty exciting talent, especially on the top end. There's a ton of forwards here who I think are going to be major impact NHLers. So today we're taking an early look at the class, going through my top 15 prospect rankings, going for the guys that I think are the most projectable and the best heading into next year, and how I see them being in the NHL with the full scouting reports and more. So make sure you watch till the end as we go through every prospect, and hit that subscribe button if you're new for more hockey content just like this every single day. Now this draft is probably going to be well known most for its forwards, but I think the defensemen are honestly pretty underrated. And of course, going through this top 15, we're going to go for 15 guys initially, but I wanted to give a couple honorable mentions, and the 3 guys just outside my top 15 were actually all D. For my first honorable mention at 18, I have Jackson Smith, somebody that with Tri-City this next year I think is going to have a huge season. You obviously see the frame at 6'3", 190 pounds, and he does use it extremely well. You consider the skating ability, the edge work there, and for his size, it's pretty impeccable, especially among Canadian defensive prospects. And I do think the offense was growing quite a bit, especially in the second half for Tri-City. He's somebody that got a little more confident, a little more aggressive. And even though I don't think there is maybe high skill in his game, I think he's somebody that thinks offensively really well. He puts himself in the right directions, doesn't make many mistakes for his age. I think there is a little bit of a limit towards his top end upside, and I don't think he's a top pair D, but somebody with a great next season could maybe be in the top 15 conversation. Now, at number 17, we're going to go on to one of the most unique players in this class, and Sasha Badin, who is a Finnish-born Swedish defenseman playing in the USHL as a Boston University commit. That's a lot. But he's someone I do like quite a bit, especially in his first season in the USHL. There were some growing pains here and there, but you have some obvious strengths. His skating is perfect, especially in transition. He already has perfect edge work and deception, and I really love the simplicity in his puck-moving game. He's somebody that's just able to use his vision and use his head and really be able to make plays consistently, and those, to me, are the 2 biggest strengths going forward. I think his physicality is something that he's grown into. It's gotten better and better as the season went on. And I think just like Jackson Smith at number 18, I think Badin is somebody that we could see reach into the top 15 when it's all said and done. A lot of these D have potential that haven't been fully unlocked yet, but I could absolutely see that happening next year and their stocks rising. Now, just outside the top 15 for yet another D, we're going to go onto the Slovak side and go on to Luca Radivojevic, who is somebody that I think just has so much potential with the offense, with the confidence he has. He's somebody that's just played great everywhere he's went. In the J20, he's had a great season. In the World Juniors and both the U20 and the U18 level, I thought he looked pretty great, especially at the U18 level where he was wheeling, he was slicing passes all over the place, and you can see the 6 assists in 6 games. He's somebody that I think has a great puck moving ability, but I do think he's somebody that with that shorter size at 5'10", 161 pounds will really need to bulk up in a major way over these next few years, and could be kind of an Aaron Kiviharu situation where he has a lot of good offensive traits, but because of the size, it's hard to really project him. But I think you need to keep him on your radar because he's somebody that could get a good chunk of change in the SHL next year, which I think would really raise his stock. But he's somebody that if he were to grow maybe 1-2 inches, I think would be a lot higher for some people, but I still think I'm going to have this range because of how confident I am in his offensive skill set. There's a lot to work with there. But no, getting us started inside the top 15 for the best prospects in this 2024 draft, we start out with Charlie Trethewey, who as an offensive D, I think just has a lot of potential to bring. He absolutely is one of the youngest and rawest players in this class because of his youth, but he's somebody that with the skills he has, with how much he's already quickly developed, is somebody I have a lot of confidence in going in the top 15 when it's all said and done. You can see what he's been able to do in the U17 level, how good he was the World Hockey Challenge, a Boston University commit as well. I don't think there's many weaknesses for his game, even with how raw he is. You can see him developing with his skating and the puck skills and the confidence he has with a puck on his stick. He's someone that is just always looking to make the right play, always looking to create offense and play up in transition, and he's just a ton of fun to watch. And I think also with the size and how aggressive he can be physically is somebody that I think could develop into this great two-way guy. Now, number 14, we're going to go on to the first forward mentioned today, and that's Caleb Denoye out of the QMJHL Moncton Wildcats. And you guys know I'm not typically a QMJHL guy, but this draft I think is pretty strong in the Q. Denoye is somebody that I'm a big fan of. I typically kind of go against QMJHL players that are a little bit passive, but Denoye is anything but. He's somebody that has great overall skills and somebody that can intercept passes, play in the right positions in the offensive zone, and work for what he gets. He's not somebody that will, again, be a rover or be somebody that is invisible noticeable shift to shift. He's somebody that is noticeable every single shift with the skill set, with the drive he has, and has kind of a two-way forward too. He's been developing that as well. You can see just how solid of a performance he had in the World Juniors and how solid he's been in the QMJHL already, but as a great skilled playmaker in the future, I think Denoy could absolutely fit that role and be a solid pick inside the top 15. He's somebody that I definitely want to see add a lot more muscle and be a little more consistent in puck retrievals and transitional speed, but he's somebody that has some great top-end talent, and I think he'll have a great season this next year in the Q. Now, number 13, we're going to go on to another player that I'm pretty impressed by in the QMJHL, and that's Justin Carbonneau out of the Armada. He's somebody that this last year took a huge step forward in the QMJHL, getting 31 goals, 59 points, 68 games, and it's pretty easy to see why with the developed skating tools, with the vision he has offensively. This guy can make some highlight reel plays, specifically around the net. Using his physicality, I think, is something that has taken some big steps. It's not quite there yet because I still think there's more of a power forward game that Carbonneau could really bring, but he's someone that has just a lot of good tools already and has been just steadily improving in those. And I think once he really starts using his physicality and the habits he does have, he's somebody that I think could be real dangerous in a top 6 one day. Next up, number 12, we're going to go on to William Moore, who is definitely one of the most physically mature players in this age already. He's someone at 6'2", has transitioned on to the NTDP, had a great first season there, 43 points in 50 games for the U17 team, and great at the World Hockey Challenge as well. As a BC commit, he's somebody that can just command a shift with his physicality. There are times where I want to see him be a little bit more diverse in his skill set, but he's someone that can be simple in the right moments and can connect plays extremely well. The goal scoring there too, and the drive to the net with his physical tools is incredibly good already, and he's someone that might be a little bit one note and a little bit one-dimensional, but how he processes the game and how he reads it, how he attacks, he gets the job done, and I think will continue to get the job done as well. Especially in the NCAA, he's going to be a monster there. Now we go on to number 11, and absolutely a player I would not be surprised to see in my top 5 someday is Jakob Ihs-Wozniak, who is probably one of my favorite prospects in this draft in terms of electricity. This guy at 6'3" knows how to use his frame, and that shot is beautiful. And you can see already how much he's been able to dominate at the junior 20 level. He wasn't very impressive at this year's World Juniors, but I'm willing to cut him some slack for that. He reminds me a lot of Slafkovsky about the rawness and the potential that you could see in just the diverse play. A little bit more of a scorer than Slafkovsky was, but I think in Ihs-Wozniak's game, even though there is some inconsistencies and some rawness there, some times that you want more, when he brings the flashes, when he brings those great moments, you can see a lot there and a potential top 6er in the future. Now coming inside the top 10, starting us out, is one of the older prospects in this class in Malcolm Spence, but absolutely one of my favorites. He's someone with his size, with the speed that he has, and the forechecking game is just going to be a menace in the NHL someday. Even though I don't think he'll be this prolific scorer, I think he's going to be somebody like this Brandon Hagel type that just gets under your skin with everything that he brings on the ice. You can see this last year of Erie, 62 points in 66 games, had a great U18 World Juniors. Spence is just a fan favorite in the making and somebody that your team is going to adore having. He just makes things easy for everyone with the way he plays the game, how much effort he puts out there. He's just somebody that can drive a line and instantly create results, and I just love that so much. Next up at number 9, we go on to one of the best players and defensemen especially heading into next year's draft, and that is Matthew Schaefer, another extremely young prospect, hasn't even turned 17 yet, but he's someone that, although was quite raw this last year in the OHL, it was his rookie season, and I was willing to cut him some slack for that, but what really impressed me was those U18 World Juniors, where it wasn't just the skating that we all know is almost flawless in Schaefer's case. He's such a good, smooth skater, and the edge work there is incredible, but it was the aggressiveness he started to show, the patience offensively, and knowing when to pinch, knowing when to make the right decisions, and that to me was something that I really wanted to see out of him. There was some rawness in his decision-making in his first OHL season, which was to be expected, but in those World Juniors, we started to see a lot of tidying up, and I think with the natural flow of the game that Schaefer just brings, he's going to be something that is very valuable on draft day, and I could easily see going in the top 10. Next up, going on to number 8, and another one of my favorites here in Cole Rashne. He is on the smaller side, but I would say for 17-year-olds, I'm still willing to see if they grow. I mean, we saw what Beckett Seneca went through, so Cole Rashne could be in that position. Who knows? But I feel like with the way that Rashne plays, how dynamic he is along the boards, how smart he is, man. I mean, he's just such a joy to watch, being in the perfect positions at every moment, and I love what he was able to do with Victoria in his first full season. 21 goals, 59 points, was great in the World Hockey Challenge too. Rashne just plays the game so effortlessly and so consistently that you just can't help but respect it. The question will be how much top tier talent there is really for his size, but to me, with how consistent he is, with how much effort he puts in every single shift, it's hard to bet against him. Next up at number 7, we go on to a player that absolutely has some of the best tools in this draft, and that is Roger McQueen. You look at him, he is a huge boy at 6'5", 190 pounds, and he plays like it sometimes, especially for his age. There is some definite rawness, and there are times where he can just straight up go invisible because I don't think he has lightning fast speed, which is acceptable because of his size, but I think he's somebody that will eventually adapt. He could absolutely be kind of the Caden Lindstrom of this draft, where he ends up kind of going a little bit underrated going into it because of the size and not showing too much yet, but explodes once his draft year happens, and I could see that absolutely happening. In Brandon, this last year got 51 points in 53 games, started off lightning hot and then kind of cooled off a little bit. I think next year Roger McQueen will once again get off to a great note, and I think potential-wise could absolutely be in the top 5, no doubt. Next up at number 6, we go on to exceptional status, Michael Misa of the Saginaw Spirit. He's someone that I've gone up and down on in the course of watching him over the past few years, but he's someone that you can't deny the raw production he's had in the OHL. His rookie season, 56 points in 45 games, and then this last year, 75 points in 67 games. I do think in Misa's case, he's someone that, especially with his youth, it's understandable that he can go invisible sometimes, but that is the case. I do think there's still a lot of rawness in him, and I do think he's somebody that kind of comes and goes, and that worries me a little bit for the player of the talent of Misa, but I do think he's somebody that you can't deny the skill, the speed, especially up the rush. He's somebody that I really want to see dominate this next year for Saginaw. If so, he could absolutely be inside the top 5. He's somebody with natural skill set, but you still kind of want to see more. Next up at number 5, we get inside the top 5 and go to, in my opinion, the best defenseman of this draft. You could go between Hensler and Schaefer, and I can understand it, but to me, Logan Hensler brings the most translatability out of any D in this class. You look at the size, the frame is completely solid, 6'2", 196 pounds, but kind of like Sam Dickinson in a way. I feel like Hensler could be going in any direction you want him to. The skating is prolific. He has great passing ability, especially in the offensive zone. He can connect plays. He can quarterback a power play, and already with his size, I think that's incredibly valuable. He was someone that was great at the U18 World Juniors too, and of course, as a Badger commit, he's someone that I think will be great there. I do think there are times where I want to see him be a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more mean because of his size and the skating he does have, but I think you can develop that. With the obvious offensive instincts and the skating and the size there, you could get a beast here in Hensler. Speaking of beasts, let's go on to number 4 and go on to an absolute tank in Porter Martone. Somebody with the Mississauga Steelheads is going to be a favorite for a lot of GMs, in my opinion. With the size he has, with the tenacity he brings, he's easily a player that you don't want to play against. Maybe the player you don't want to play against in this draft class. This last year, got 71 points in 60 games for the Mississauga Steelheads, and then dominating at the U18 World Juniors. Porter Martone is so smart in knowing where he needs to be, knowing how to play the complementary role, but he can drive play, he can go to the net, he can do anything you want him to do. I think there maybe compared to a James Hagens isn't the insane skill ceiling, but man, he just has so much drive and so many smarts, and kind of like Zach Hyman is going to know exactly where to be with whoever he plays with, and that is going to be valuable at the NHL level. Next up at number 3, we go on to really the game breakers of this draft class, starting with Ryabkin out of Russia. He's somebody that was able to break Matvei Michkov's MHL points record this last year, getting 58 points in 44 games, which is just unbelievable for the player that he is. He has so much skill and just game-breaking pace. He's somebody that always is looking to create, always looking to attack defensemen and just make anything work. I do think there are times where he can kind of force things, but man, the talent level is incredible with this guy, and just like Michkov, just like Demidov, is going to be a talent you don't want to pass up on. In Ryabkin's case too, he has the scoring the best out of those 3 at his age group, and that's pretty tantalizing too. And he's a center. This draft is pretty good for centers at the top end of things. At number 2, I have Anton Frondell, who is going to be one of my favorites heading into next year, just with the finesse he plays with, the vision, the creativity. Frondell is just so much fun to watch, but it's the way he connects plays. It's the way he plays with his teammates and is able to create anything out of nothing, really. He's somebody that in the junior 20 level was just dominant, incredible, and Vince kind of thought also played pretty well against pro competition. He's somebody that I hope gets a big opportunity next year because, man, this guy can play. He can play in every situation, and with the offense he's able to create is just magical. And also, we've seen some pretty big upgrades in his physicality, in the maturity, in the size, and I think that's something that will really help him as well on draft day. But I just think with the offensive tools, the vision he has, this guy could be so exceptional in so many ways. Now at number 1, we go on to the best player in this 2025 NHL draft class, and it has to be James Hagens. At this point, with how much he's performed at these big levels, you just can't deny the talent that he has, the game-breaking skill, the way that he's able to push into any play and just create chaos for defensemen. I mean, you see in the NTDP and the U18 level already, he was insane. At the U18s, he was dominant. He was the guy every single shift. It's kind of hard to describe just how good James Hagens is, but this next year at BC, he is going to be an absolute stud immediately. I have no doubts about it. With the way he's able to push himself offensively, with the way he's able to create, look out for Hagens, man, because he is the next in line with USA centermen, dominant ones at that. Hagens is going to be a beauty. But those are my 2025 NHL draft rankings as of right now. And of course, a year ahead of time, I don't expect this list to be anything similar. It always goes a little bit crazy, but this is just an early look towards the top prospects in this class. So I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and comment down below your thoughts on all these guys who you want your team to draft. And I will see you in the next one. Have a great hockey day, and goodbye.